Bear from Bear Reads Books. Welcome back to my channel. This is the idea that I was thinking about. And what I've done is on magnetic pieces, I have put all of the books I've read this year, including the ones that I either have in progress or that I can't actually provide a ranking for at the moment, ones that are in play for the BookTube prize. But these are all the ones that I've finished. And what it was really difficult to do was to put them in ranked order from my favourite book to my least favourite book. And that was a seriously difficult thing. I mean, the little montage that I played of me putting stickers on the wall is 30 seconds, but this honestly took me more than half an hour to do. And every time I look at it, I'm thinking about, oh, that's not better than that, or that should be down here, or this should be up here. Now I'm constantly reassessing everything about this list, but it's a good list. I mean, this is what I've been able to achieve so far this year, and I think it's great. It's been a really fun exercise to do. So what I'm going to do now is every time I finish a book and add a book to my currently reading list, I'll put the finished books on this list, and I'll put the currently readings in this list. As soon as I'm allowed to publish my rankings for the BookTube prize for these non-fiction books, I'll do a review properly with a separate video, and then I'll put them over into the finished list in the right place. The interesting thing I found is things that I ranked very differently on Goodreads, and we're only talking about less than 6 months ago, are in very different locations. So things that I may have ranked at 4 stars at the beginning of the year, and a good example is something like Outline by Rachel Cusk. When I come to reassess it, it simply wasn't memorable enough. It simply didn't resonate with me enough that it should have been up above all of these other things. Now that may be because of just how recently I read these things, or it could be for a range of other reasons. But some of the other things that I read right at the beginning of the year are higher up. So I'm not sure it's a time problem or whether I'm actually remembering things clearly now. But that's one good example. And other good examples are things like the 2 that I've just reviewed recently, the mystery and thriller ones, which you've got Deep State and The Nowhere Child. And they're right down on the bottom third of the list, even though I said they were great books. I gave them 3.5 stars, but a very positive 3.5 stars. But in comparison to everything else I've read this year, they end up right in the bottom third. Some surprises once I finish this. Surprises is The Testaments ended up as high as it did. I really, after my reading experience, expected it to be a lot lower. And things like the poetry is very much interspersed through the middle rather than at the bottom. So the 3 or 4 volumes of poetry I've read this year have really just been through the middle. It's really hard for those poetry volumes to break through to the top or to be so bad that they would drift to the bottom. So that was interesting to see. My top 5 at the moment is Girl, Woman, Other, The Erratics, which I've only just finished, which is the Australian non-fiction. This Is How We Changed the Ending, which is a YA Australian fiction. Lost Children Archive, which is still up in consideration for the BookTube prize, and Killing Commendatore by Haruki Murakami. And I was hoping that was going to be up there, but I wasn't sure, because every time I started shuffling these things, Haruki Murakami got pushed further down. I thought, oh no, he's going to drop out of the top 5 or even the top 10. I really wasn't sure. He stayed up there though. But if you look at round 1, the octafinals for the BookTube prize in fiction, the one I rated most highly was The Dutch House and A Single Thread. And they end up at the bottom of the top third. There they are there, with some interesting things above them. So Nightboat to Tangier and the Australian book The Yield both ended up above them. And the only one above these 2 that I ranked for the BookTube prize, the only other ones above those that are in consideration for the BookTube prize is Girl, Woman, Other and Lost Children Archive. So some really interesting decisions here. A lot of Australian representation, which I'm so glad about. because you try and look at things objectively, and I think the amount of Australians that are in the top half is really commendable. And I try and read a lot of Australian books, and I think a lot of you have read a lot of Australian books for Aussie April recently, and you've had a great experience doing that. And I'd be interested to see where you put them. I know there was a lot of talk for The Yield, Tara June Winch's book, and that ended up quite high for me. But what I should have, with all of this non-fiction coming into the list very soon, what I'll have by, say, the middle of the year is a really good selection of fiction and non-fiction that you'll be able to see in ranked order. It was a really interesting exercise. I urge you to try it. If you've got this is my outside fridge. I don't know if having an outside fridge is a thing anywhere else in the world apart from Australia. Your inside fridge has all the things that you're going to make for dinner, your milk and your butter and all of your ingredients for the food you eat every day. Your outside fridge is usually for beer, wine, and extra items. So if you've got 3 tubs of butter and all your spares go in the outside fridge, is that even a thing in other countries? I don't know. So this is and you usually put a crappy fridge outside. So this is my old crappy fridge, and it's worked perfectly. On the left I have Bear's book rankings, and on the right I have the coming soons, so the thing's still in play. Super interesting exercise. I'm going to keep this here. Hopefully it doesn't get rubbed off or smudged or moved about as people come and go from the house. I'll try and keep it in order. I might do a slow pan from bottom to top right now to finish off the video, so you can see the entire list from the bottom to the top. And I'd really enjoy your feedback about what you think about some of these rankings. They may change, so the more I look at this list, they may change. I may swap things around as I come out to get a drink out of the fridge. I might go, oh, that doesn't go there. I go, swap it around. But I'll do a slow pan so you can see them all. Happy for you to comment about what rankings you think they should be. But all in all, this was such a rewarding exercise. Get on, do it if you have the capacity. But it's a really interesting way of thinking about what you've read over the last 5 or 6 months. Enjoy your day, everyone, wherever you may be, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.